Hey guys, how you going? So today on BKR Sports, we are here doing an AFL season review. I know it's a couple weeks late, but you know, who cares? Better late than never. Just like we did with the NRL, we are going to be grading all 18 teams in the AFL for 2020. We're going to be giving A's, we're going to be giving B's, and I can tell you damn well right now, we are going to be giving F's. So let's sit back and let's talk about how your team did in 2020. That's funny. So the way we're going to do this, guys, is we're going to actually do this in alphabetical order. And I don't know why I find this funny. The two teams from the NRL and the AFL that start off the list, Broncos and the Adelaide Crows, and both teams won the wooden spoon. So we get started off with an absolute banger. Oh yeah. The Adelaide Crows obviously came 18th. They had an absolutely horrific season. I don't think anyone truly believed that they were going to be that far down the ladder. I think people still had a realistic expectation for them to maybe be just outside that bottom four or in the bottom four. I don't know, a couple of years ago, they were in the grand final. I just don't know if people had this real serious thought that Adelaide were going to go, you know, like 16 games without a damn well win. Like I said, I don't think anyone really had some high aspirations for this team anyway. They definitely are on the regression from when they were in the grand final. This team is definitely massively different, and they're definitely in a rebuilding stage, and they're definitely having to focus on their youth right now. Some players that they truly believed in and they backed in just kind of haven't worked out as much as they would have hoped, and I guess they're still trying to ride on the coattails of that grand final a couple of years ago. In saying all this, they did have a bit of a positive end. I know that they still ended up getting the wooden spoon, but I think they, 15, 16 losses in a row to start the season, and then went on a spurt of 3 games in a row and nearly avoided the wooden spoon for North Melbourne. So I guess that kind of brings in a positive to show that this team can compete. They weren't against any good teams really, but the fact of the matter is that they still picked themselves up. They got a win, they got a couple, and nearly avoided the wooden spoon before they had to play Richmond, and we all know Richmond won the comp, so you can't really expect too much there. So for the Adelaide Crows, I'm going to be giving a D. I think that yes, they definitely failed. Yes, they weren't great. I don't know if I'd give it an F just because at the end of the season, they actually did play some pretty good footy and they showed that they do have it in the locker. Next up, guys, we have the Brisbane Lions. They came second place. Not too bad, eh? Not too shabby. So you do have to take into account this team is quite young and quite new to this area. However, they did still fail in the finals. I don't know what this team is doing when it comes to getting home finals. Yeah, look, they beat Richmond, who ended up winning the comp. So you've got to really commend them for that. And they didn't get knocked out in straight sets this year like they did last year. But you know, they still came against that. They still fell apart against Geelong. They got flogged by Geelong a couple of times this year, both times. The question remains, and this question has remained since last year when we saw them get knocked out in straight sets at home. Does this team have what it takes to get to the next level? Fantastic team, young bloods, old bloods, just a really good combined mixture right now. But it's just about that actual getting to that next step. We'll see it next year, hopefully. But for this year, I think I'm going to have to give them an A-. I think that an A is a really good result. And I think that Brisbane, you know, making the prelim, beating Richmond in the qualifying final, you can't really complain about that. That's why it's still an A. I know the minus makes it sound negative, but it's not. It's still an A. I just think that they probably would have expected to at least compete a lot better against Geelong, and I actually think they would have had expectations of making the grand final this year, especially after the year they had, and especially after the high feeling of beating Richmond. I'm going to give them an A- as a fantastic result, and I really do look forward to seeing Brisbane try and compete again next year, and hopefully taking that next step. In 11th place, we had Carlton. Now, this is a hard one to talk about because you never know what you're going to get with this team. This team came 11th, so I guess around abouts where people predicted them. Some people predicted them bottom end of the 8, some people predicted them here, and some people predicted them lower. I never thought they'd be lower, but I think this is a realistic place for them this year after the fact that they were so inconsistent. You know, they can beat Geelong, but, you know, they still gave up 40 points in the fourth quarter, but they can beat Geelong and then go and lose to some other scrub teams by a lot of points. It's just like, come on, man, like, Carlton fans must be fuming right now. This team is very young. This team has been promising for a few years now, giving the outlook that this team is building, and hopefully it might start to come together for them. I kept saying this year throughout all our streams is that Carlton have this really good ability of having a fantastic quarter, a really unreal quarter for 2 quarters of the game. But we're missing something here. There's 4 quarters. So they have 2 fantastic, unbelievable quarters, and you don't know which ones, but then they'll also have 2 absolutely horrific quarters. And you kind of question yourself again and think, well, shit, man, is this team actually up for it? So I really don't know how to grade this team. I'm gonna give them a C plus. I'm gonna give them a C plus. It's a tentative C plus. They didn't make the finals. I don't think really there was too many expectations of them actually making the finals. They did have some highs. They did have some lows. And I think that they're still showing that promise of improving, but they're not there yet. Hopefully next year it happens, but they're not there just yet. But a C plus, I think that's a pretty good result for Carlton. Good old Collingwood forever, eh? Good old Collingwood forever. I tipped this team to win the comp at the start of the year, and they came 8th, and my team beat them by 70 points to knock them out of the competition. So, bit of an odd one, this one. Yeah, a bit of a... This is actually a really difficult one too, because Collingwood made the finals, but pretty much everyone predicted them in the grand final alongside Richmond. They only just scraped into the 8. I know they had a lot of injuries, but so did everyone, so shush, before every bloody Collingwood fan comes out here and says, "Hey, we got injuries." Every single bloody team had injuries, mate. I guess you can't fail them because they still did make the 8. They still did make finals. But like I said, they got absolutely annihilated by Geelong. And I guess their grand final was against West Coast where they won by 1 point in an absolute thriller. I don't think this was the season that Collingwood was hoping for whatsoever. Some teams would think that just making the 8 would be a real big positive. But for Collingwood, I think they expected a lot more this year. I think they expected to be, pushing for top 4, pushing top 2, even potentially winning the minor premiership. And especially making the grand final. But they didn't go anywhere near it, and really, I just can't give them too good of a result. So I'm going to give them a C minus. I'm going to give them a C minus because they still did make the 8, and it's not a failure of a season as such, but it's not a great season. So it's literally the lowest possible pass mark that you can receive. However, we all know they're going to be back to competing next year, but this is a review of 2020. So C minus, I think, is fair. Not a failure, but definitely not a positive season. 13th place, eh? 13th place. This is where we're going to talk about you, Essendon. We're going to talk about you in 13th place. I tipped you for the 8. I think I had you in 7th place. And you're 13th. What the shit? What the shit is this? What the shit is this, Essendon? How the bloody on earth did you come down here and nearly finish in the bottom 4? This team has been telling everyone that they're really coming up strong. They've been showing that, hey, I know we've had a couple of bloody tormenting years, but we're coming, son. We're coming. Well, guess what? You came and you're gone. You came and you're gone. What's happening here? You're going to have to literally blow this team up. Now, blow this team up is a reference in baseball terms where you just basically get rid of everyone and just start from scratch, because this team is all over the shop right now. I have no idea how Essendon came here. I'm not going to pretend to say I know what happens behind the scenes, or I know what's going on chemistry-wise, or I know what's going on specifically with the club. I'm just a fan watching on and thinking this team has so much promise and they are failing to deliver massively. So I really do feel sorry for Essendon fans, because Essendon fans are some of the most passionate fans in the AFL, 100%. So I do feel sorry for them. I'm giving them an F. I'm giving them a fat old F, a big old F. I don't think their fans deserve it, but the club definitely deserves it. I've no idea how they got here, but they're actually quite lucky they even finished as high up as they did. I think they, after this year, deserve to finish that bottom 4. They went and drew with Collingwood earlier in the year, and they thought the fans were like, oh, we might actually win this year. And it's like, well, Collingwood didn't do too well either, mind you, but Essendon just didn't do anything from there. Really, I don't really recall too much actual positivity coming from Essendon this season at all. So, let me know in the comment section if you believe I'm wrong there, but I think Essendon, they expected to make the 8. They expected to at least be pushing for the 8, but they didn't. And they're lucky to be as high as they were at 13th. So I'm giving them a massive F. Not too far away from them, in 12th place, we have Fremantle. The old Western Australians sneaking on up there. I think a lot of people actually predicted this team to come last this year. I know they got Nat Fyfe, and there is quite a bit-ish of belief future-wise for them pre-season. There wasn't really too much expectations this year. I think people genuinely had them coming last, but a lot of young guns coming through. I think we saw this year, this was probably, I know the Gold Coast gets a lot of raps, but Fremantle have a lot of good young guns coming up, and really it's positive for the future. Those two teams there are really the young gun capital right now of the AFL, so I'm looking forward to seeing how Fremantle do in the future. Obviously they didn't make the 8 this year. Yes, I guess that could be considered a fail, and I know 12th isn't great. I really wanted to give them like a B or a B minus, but I'm going to give them a C plus. I think that they have that plus, gets that positivity going, and I think that the plus really shows the positivity that they're showing for the future, but obviously they still did come 12th. There were some games where they looked embarrassing, and there were some games that they looked really good for the future, so I think that a C plus is a pass, considering that they were expected a lot lower, but yeah, I'll give a C+ for Fremantle, and I think that in the future they're actually looking pretty good. Geelong, my boys, my Geelong Cutters, eh? Oh, this one is this is probably why it took me so long to do this review. This is probably why it took me so long to do this grading. Look, I really enjoyed this season, I did. I think that at the beginning of the year, people really didn't appreciate Geelong. I think that, and I say this a lot on my streams, and I say this a lot in my videos, Geelong are the professionals at patching up where they need to without rebuilding. And you can see that in the off-season as well, right now, is that they're starting to patch up in places that we need without actually going into a full rebuild, like blowing the team up like Essendon probably should do right now. So I think that Geelong, they did really well considering no one believed in them in pre-season. I had a couple of people saying that they weren't even going to make the 8, and I thought that was just stupid. I think that Geelong was better this year than last year. I know they came first last year, they came fourth this year, but I think that overall this year's competition was weak. I think last year's competition was decent-ish, but I think that the way Geelong actually played this year was just a better overall performance than we did last year. I think no one believed in Geelong last year, even when they did finish first, and obviously they did get beaten convincingly by Richmond in the prelim, and then obviously this year, you know, we made the grand final, and I guess you'd class it convincing in the end. It was the exact same game as last year's prelim, where Geelong came out to a 20-point lead going into half-time and lose in the end. But I think that this year was actually quite quality. I think that no one expected Geelong to get to the grand final and compete and actually put in as much as a performance as they did. I think that Geelong had a really good year. I think Geelong had a really, really good year, and I'm happy with it. I'm going to give it an A. I know we didn't win it. We would have got an A+ if we won it, but I think that an A is definitely something that Geelong deserves, even though they finished fourth and made the grand final. Made the grand final. Actually, just saying that, I believe they beat 5 or 6 teams by 60 or 70 points or more. So that's a pretty significant result. So I'm going to give Geelong an A. I really hope that we can maintain this next year. Obviously, everyone's like, oh, when's Geelong going to start failing? Blah, 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 blah. But I think that, like I said, Geelong are the professionals of patching up rather than rebuilding. 14th, the Gold Coast Suns. Bit of a difficult one to read this because they're a very young team. Their star player went down with an injury early on for the rest of the season, and they were messed up on so many levels. This team is still trying to come out of, I guess, their, you know, chubby birth years, I guess. You know, they're still in that time frame where they haven't been anywhere near successful ever, and they're really trying to establish a footprint, and they weren't able to do anything like that this year simply because of the torment that was going on with the injury and also just everything going on. So I really think this is a bad year to read this Gold Coast team. They're a very young team like Fremantle. They do have some nice up-and-coming stars coming through. Do I think they're going to be a great team next year? I'm not too sure. Wait for my previews next year, but I think for the Gold Coast, I'll give them a C. I'll give them a flat-out C because they did still finish quite low on the table. Yeah, they showed promise, but I'm going to give them a flat-out C because this year was not a good year to get a read on this team, and hopefully next year they can start making the Gold Coast proud because we all know the Titans are going to. Greater Western Sydney Giants, giving you an F. Straight up. F. Straight up F. Do I even need to say more? What the shit happened this season? I talk about Essendon. What the shit happened with you, GWS? Holy damn, son. Holy damn. Made the grand final and mind you, get beaten by like 400 damn points in the grand final. So you think that maybe the next year you'll come out and you'll try and make a name for yourself, you'll prove yourself and say, you know what? Screw you, Richmond. I'm coming for you and I'm coming to make bloody revenge. They didn't even make the 8. They didn't even make the 8. Now, I don't want to toot my horn too much, but I did say that they wouldn't make the 8. Oh yeah, I did. I did call it. I didn't think they were that great this year. I had a GWS friend of mine who said that they were better. They were going to be better. Well, guess what? I think they were better. But yeah, no, I was really disappointed with GWS this year. There's not much else really to say. They didn't make the 8. They made the grand final last year. Granted, they got absolutely floggerinoed, but come on, man. This is just pathetic. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I do hope you have enjoyed. If you haven't already, smash that thumbs up button. Yeah, go down there, hit that thumbs up. It does mean more than you think. It shows me, obviously, that you are enjoying this content and you want to see more of these kind of videos. I'm going to be back in Australia within the next couple of weeks. So, although I have a quarantine period, you know, I won't be able to do vlogs for 2 weeks since coming back. Vlogs are going to be returning on the channel. Very much looking forward to that. BBL season coming up, A-League season coming up. We're going to be streaming the Premier League and NFL. Don't you damn well worry sorry. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go down there, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you guys as always. Don't let anybody tell you can't do something, guys. Live your passion. That is the main thing. But I'm going to jump off for now. Appreciate you, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. So.